Better Questions fam. I'm hanging out with my dear friend, Dr. Carl. He never wants to come on my show, but I trapped him because my dear friend Matt called. And so the question for today is, what about antidepressants? Thanks for tuning in. With an anonymous doc, we're going to call him Carl. And so anyway, the stage he gets a bunch of people coming to him, and then he's stuck in an ethical dilemma of prescribing medicine or not prescribing medicine, more or less. Is that fair? What do you do with that, Matthew?
What is the ethical dilemma?
Will people come in and say they're sad, so you just give them antidepressants?
Definitely.
But then once they're on the medicine, they have a hard time getting off the medicine. All right, so then let's go to the lack of institution trust. So
do you? Well, hold on. Do you? One of the things that I've picked up on, and this is anecdotal, I would wonder if it's something that that Dr. Carl has noticed as well, is maybe with depression, but also this inclination towards other diagnoses, or seeking out other diagnoses. I know people who have apparently recently discovered that they're adults. They're 30 years old, and they've had ADHD apparently their whole life, and or some other one of these types of I guess disorders. And when you talk to them, and you're like, oh wow, this is very interesting. How did you discover this? And they're like, well, I was bringing my son to the doctor because he is diagnosed with ADHD, and we're going through all of the symptoms that he has. And I'm like, oh my God, these are all the symptoms that I have. Have I had ADHD my whole life, or ADD? I don't know. And I'm like, I'll say, what are these symptoms? And it's I have trouble focusing at work. I get distracted easily. I'll be doing one thing, and then all of a sudden, my mind's on something else. And for me, I'm like, well, isn't everybody like that? How is that a disease? Isn't that just, being alive with an iPhone, and your attention's going every 100 different directions? How do we get to the point where that's this is a disease? And or the other one, it'll be some version of PTSD, or trauma, and the trauma is I got, my dad yelled at me a lot when I was a little, or I was seriously embarrassed this one time in second grade. And I'm like, how is this a disorder? Isn't this just growing? I would have thought everybody had these experiences, and now it seems to track, because now everybody wants to diagnose themselves or be diagnosed with one of these disorders. And it seems like we're just diagnosing having a pulse as being diseased. Am I overreacting, or being close-minded, or missing something here, Dr. Carl? Or am I?
I would just like to echo Matt. He asked me about COVID, and I just wanted to make sure.
He went straight to ADHD.
Well, I went first and foremost. The outcome of COVID, right amongst dope sick, is lack of trust in institutions, which is founded but also dangerous, right? And that's something that you had taught me. But I would like to just affirm that I share in his sentiment. We're over-prescribing, and everybody has ADHD now, and it can help anybody, so why wouldn't you take it?
Yeah, why wouldn't you take it? I don't know. Why wouldn't you take it?
So are you saying that everybody should take it in order to focus better?
I'm not saying that everybody should take it. I'm just saying that it's what we were talking about earlier, Kevin. It's just, what do you value? If you value getting more done in the day, and that's the most important thing in your life, then, well, you should probably be taking Adderall. But if there's some other value in life that can weigh against that, maybe that, maybe the process of like disciplining yourself to the point where you can actually focus without relying on some sort of pharmaceutical alternative, then you shouldn't take Adderall. It's just what do you as an individual value in as you craft the way you're going to live life. I think that's the question, and everybody's. I think a lot of people are told that or learn through our culture that no, what matters is being more efficient. You are a tool. You are a cog in the machine. Your worth is commensurate to how much work you can do for the machine, and you need to do whatever you can to maximize that output so that you are more marketable, more productive, more efficient, a better person according to what the culture wants you to be, what the culture values. And I've got to imagine that, or I totally believe that Adderall would be really helpful. The culture tells people that what is valuable is the amount of work that they can do and the amount of output they can, produce for the machine, for the society, and you're worth as much as you can produce. And so efficiency and productivity are the highest values. And if you subscribe to that, if you're part of that culture and you receive that cultural influence and accept it, then yeah, you probably should be taking Adderall, and you'll be a better person according to the system and the system's values because you're on Adderall and you're doing more work and you're more productive and more focused. But if you want to, no one's forcing you into that. You can opt out and have your own values and set up life the way you want to live it. It's going to be complicated and probably less convenient than it would be if you just got on the railroad tracks and followed the way everybody wants you to go. But you don't have to do that.
I thought you were referencing getting run over by a train. I guess the ADD is ADD is less interesting as it relates to like happiness and wellness, right? So if you get on medicines to be well, I guess I don't really have a problem with someone who wanted to take medicine to focus, but happiness. Sure. Would you say, Matt, that you're somebody that's found happiness in this life? Like you're a joy, like you have found a peace in this life. Like you wake up and look forward to going after life. Generally speaking, would that be fair?
Yes.
And so, Dr. Carl, you would say the same. You found happiness, like you look forward. Yeah, you look forward to life. So then he says 30% of his clients are coming in saying there's some type of. If somebody comes in, I'm taking care of my 6-year-old daughter. I'm a single parent. My wife OD'd, killed herself. I can barely get out of bed. I don't have much to live for. Like, how do you deal with that? Obviously, the only answer you can't say is I don't want to be a doc for those reasons.
Yeah, I mean, that's tough. Like, my gut is that while, I would want this person to have like some support system that would be able to, I don't know, get them through this part of life. If it seems obvious that that's just not there, and this is a guy who some little girl depends on to like stay alive and not off himself, essentially. Like, I don't think I would have a problem with prescribing that person antidepressants that is just going to completely change who he is so that he can, put a smile on his face and live some kind of a happy-ish existence. I don't know. I don't know much about these drugs, so I wouldn't have an issue prescribing antidepressants per se. Like, some people just aren't going to. I think it's a fact that some people aren't going. some people are not going to dig out of this themselves, and it's simply like either antidepressants or spiraling out of control. Those are the facts of their life, unfortunately.
That sounds pretty similar. That's how you see it. So then if we were, is it worth root causing? Well, I guess while we have Dr. Carl, is there anything you want to talk to Dr. Carl about, Matt, before I hijack the conversation?
No, I don't think so.
So then if we all agree that in certain situations, antidepressants are generally a good thing or a recommendable script to people, what do we do? And this is funny because Conspiracy Night ended up going to the same question. Like, if 30% of people are arguably, and I'm rounding up, right? Only half of them maybe legitimately are sad or whatever. Like 30, let's just say, let's go with 30% of people are depressed and unhappy in life. Like, what would we? And I'll start with Matt, and then I'll go to Dr. Carl. Like, what is the prescription to never get yourself there? I'm not assuming that you have some agency. I'm not. I don't want to be dismissive or diminishing of anybody that didn't get themselves. There's situations and all of that, but like, what is the best root cause antidote for finding yourself depressed, unhappy, and on the brink of considering not wanting to be alive anymore? And I'm just curious, Matt, and you're like you don't have as an expert in this field. I'm just curious what your prescription would be to never get there if we have agency.
This is great. This is a great question. This is worth thinking about. I would say the first thing that comes to mind, there's got to be other things, but the first thing that comes to mind is, and there's probably a better way to say this, but low expectations in life, such that, like, you look around. When I look around, it is so obvious to me that I am like in the top 1% of the top 1% of the luckiest people to have ever been born, and I'm grateful for that. And you know, every good day that I have is it really, if you take the time to look at it like that, it's an anomaly. It's like, wow, this was just winning the jackpot again. But on the other hand, if everything were to completely collapse, I would just be like, well, I hopefully be like, well, you know, what do you think was going to happen? You know, you read enough about what other people are going through, what people have gone through in the past, and you know, there was never any reason for me to expect life to be as good as it has been so far. So if something does happen and catastrophically, you know, it can't. It would be wrong, I think, for me to react with that with surprise, and that's kind of like, you know, I would imagine the something has gone terribly wrong here. I didn't deserve this. I should have been this or that. Is really unhelpful for somebody trying to get their head straight when going through something wrong. This like, woe is me. This wasn't supposed to happen, because I don't think there is anything that's supposed to happen. It's all just kind of happening, and some people got lucky and some people didn't. But if your cards change, like and you can just kind of accept it as, well, this is now this is happening. You don't have to maybe fight through the moral valence of I've been cheated out of what I deserved because I deserved better, or something like that, which I think is a really toxic way of thinking about things, but also an easy way to look at things when your life sucks.
So your to summarize what I think I just heard you say is like to have low expectations, to not aspire. If you have low aspirations and expect life to be difficult or trying, then there's not much to be. There will be less woe with me.
Not as much to be quite so disappointed about. I don't know. I've read a lot of Greek tragedy, and these are, artistic works about just how bad things can get for a human being. And at least the early ones were very clear that none of them deserved it. It was just this is the way the world works. It's just what happens to people sometimes, and these things happen over and over and over again. And there's a nobility in being able to just recognize that in some of these characters that I've always admired, even in their worst of times, to be able to definitely recognize how bad things are and not try to do this delusional, no, everything's fine thing. It's not that, but it's totally cognizant of how really, really hellish things have gotten, but also, just accepting that as this is the way things are, not that this should have been one way or the other. And there's not really anything to do here but to just move through it.
It's like there's like two things I'd want to square, and I think this whole conversation comes back to the one question that we haven't answered: is what does it mean to be a good human, or what is a good human? But what you posit is interesting to me because I've been doing a lot of study of high achievers. I consider myself one, and it's like the first, what made Brady is probably he believed he could be Brady, and like a high aspiration of oneself is like drive somebody to greatness. But at the end of the day, I think the greatest among us probably, like, who's the greatest happy person? I don't know that we know that, so that's interesting. And then I'm always on this like wealth thing. Like, money is the root of all evil. The more that you want, the more corrupting it is, the less that you need.
On community, I think you run into some liabilities there, because there are situations where if there are people who go through life depending on their community and everything's great, and then the community gets cut away from them for some reason, they don't have that anymore, and then they're just completely screwed. Everything that they depended there, because anytime you have a dependency, it's also a liability, because what if what you depend on goes away? Nothing's certain to last forever, and you're kind of just banking on that thing always being there for you. And there are also things that I've read and come to learn from about that too, and that's not always. I wouldn't be quite comfortable saying that is a foolproof, dependable way to go forward. It definitely works for people, but again, I think these are the people who get lucky enough to have a community that they rely on and was actually always there for them and never let them down. And that's not the same as all the people who depended on a group of people and they were let down, and they would have been better off if they had not maybe depended so hard on that community. So that one I'm a little iffy on. But the purpose one, I think for sure. Has anybody read Man's Search for Meaning, the Viktor Frankl?
Frankl, yeah, it's a big jacket. Oh, you have it. Dr. Carl has it. We got one.
Oh, okay. Well, maybe you don't need to, because he's got three, but Purpose is one of them, and so you already know.
What was it? What's Frankl's other three? I don't remember. It's a quick read, by the way. It's really
this is a good question. I think it's family, work, and I don't remember. I haven't read it in a long time. I've been thinking about going back to it though. It's been on my mind because I don't remember it.
My assumption would be that like low expectations with high hope. It doesn't mean that you don't have to it's like low expectations, like the minimum soluble sustenance is the less that you rely on to be happy or expect or deserve, the easier it is to be fulfilled by one level above that. I think you can still shoot the moon.
That's why I was asking a clarifying question.
Would I have gotten that right, Matt, or would you have answered a different way?
I think I would have answered a different way, but I think just, differently. And I don't think we would disagree. I think that's a great point. It's why, I hesitated to say what it is low expectations, although taken literally in that way, that could be somebody's recommendation. It wouldn't be mine. Right. Yeah. Just settle. And then you can't be disappointed by anything. And it would be interesting to ask, like, what would actually be wrong about that? And I think then you would come back again to, like, the question of values. Like, what is it that you value? If you value ease of existence and just never being disappointed or stressed out, if that is the most important thing in life for you, then sure, maybe low expectations and settling and never having any aspirations and never trying to do anything and never expecting to do anything, and now you can never be disappointed. This is a way of living a life where you're never disappointed. But then we would ask, like, why would you want to live a life where you're never disappointed? I think that is just important too. Like, to what extent are we trying to avoid depressed moods, right? Like, probably not totally, right? We're okay with having the periods of life where we spent in the dumps and going through hard times and having the associated mental reactions and emotional reactions to that, right? Like, I don't think anybody's saying that we're trying to get to a point where you just live every single day like it's just a happy day and you're just happy all the time, right?
No, yeah, we're in agreement there. I don't want to.
Yeah, and I don't think nobody was suggesting. No one was suggesting that. I think the point I was trying to make was maybe it had more to do with this, like, just recognition that you're not entitled to anything and, like, not having to deal with that side of depression where you feel like something's gone wrong. Like, when everything goes to shit, like, nothing went wrong. And you don't have to worry about that. But you also probably shouldn't just accept everything as it is and just let it be. There's probably something to be done to make things better.
As brief and as fast as you can, like I always reference the conversation. Can you just walk me through why there's no such thing as an immigration problem? I wish that was recorded. I really need, can you give me that succinctly? Like, I just want to relive that conversation. Can you do it or no? If not, it's fine.
Well, I mean, yeah, I don't mind talking about it. I don't think that I wouldn't say there's no such thing as an immigration problem or that it doesn't exist. I think what we were talking about is that the thing being referred to when people talk about an immigration problem doesn't exist. Like, there probably is a real immigration problem. It's just not what it's not what is being talked about on the Instagram reels talking about, or YouTube clips talking about the immigration problem. That's all just for show. I think we were talking about it with immigration and with tariffs, because there was this huge explosion of media content generated from these around these topics, and you were like, how this is ridiculous. Like, why can't we just have a civil conversation about this and come to a rational conclusion on what needs to be done here to solve a real world problem, and then execute and move on and go from there. I think my point was just like the problem is the point. Like all of the Trump sending the National Guard into Chicago or the ICE raids in Los Angeles, like that, the point was to create the spectacle and the controversy and all the Instagram videos and content to generate stuff, right? And everything being talked about in that spectacular realm doesn't have any real connection with reality, whatever that is. You can't get to it through that stuff. And so insofar as that stuff is referencing the immigration problem or something else, that thing that they're referencing is not a real thing, I think was my point.
Yeah, and I think, and I'm sorry, you did it so brief, and now stupid lay people like me can't follow. So I think the words you said is like the immigration problem as we perceive it is working perfectly. Help me understand like that's all spectacle and for show.
If you solve the immigration problem, you would ruin the game. Like the point is to have problems to make videos about and posts about and argue about. Like nobody wants to solve these problems because then there would be nothing to do. There'd be nothing to riot about. There would be nothing to tweet about. There would be nothing to do. So the point is just to keep the emotional circus moving, and that just it's probably not that hard.
And is it on? And is it? I just want to make sure I'm understanding. It's on both sides. Like whether if you're on either side of the spectacle, you're invested.
There's no two sides. It's all the same. It's all the same thing.
Yeah. So to engage with the immigration problem is to say like I want to get excited about this on one side or the other and yell back and forth, and like on neither side is an intent to resolve, because if there was an intent to resolve, it would already be resolved.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I'm sure there's people who like, I know there's people who authentically want to help real human beings who are, moving back and forth across the southern border of the United States and Mexico, and are doing what they can to help those people out. And then there are also real human beings that are, willing to go and do real things to prevent people from moving back and forth. That all is happening. I don't think that it has any connection to what people talk about on cable news.
We'll have to deep dive.
At least I believe that it's happening. Maybe it's not.
We'll save it. It was so revelatory for me, but I think I have to do the expanded version to get it to land. I totally agree with what you're saying. But
I think what you were saying is you were complaining about like Trump. He was like, maybe this needed to be done, but there was a better way to do it without pissing so many people off. It was done so inartfully and so crassly. And I think I was just like, no, like the point like was to piss people off. He would have failed in his mission if he like did immigration enforcement in a way that made everybody happy. This would have ruined the game. That would have failed the point of having an immigration problem, which is to make sure we still have like Trump. All these people need there to be this show so that they can, because they're in the show.
Better Questions, fam. Thanks for listening. Impromptu conversation with Matt McCoy and my dear friend Dr. Carl. Hope you enjoyed it. I think I have to ask you to like, listen, and subscribe or whatever. I appreciate you being here and tuning in. And hey, put it in the comments if you like Dr. Carl. I'm trying to get him back on. He never makes time for me. Later.